Hi, friends. Welcome to CoreLight's Spiritual Weather Report. It is July 26, 2026. This is Brad, and I'm still in Florida, one of my happy places. And in a few days, I am off to continue my nomadic life, different parts of the US for the next few months. And I hope to see some of you when I'm traveling around. We are in very intense times, and I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're staying on your surfboards. I certainly am very, very happy to know that we have at least a virtual community where we can be together on the inner planes. Very important to be with people. Um, there's also, it's a very auspicious day today. This is the opening of the Lion's Gate. The Lion's Gate is actually August 8th every year. But it just peaks on 8/8, and it's a couple of weeks or so window, power window. So we'll be talking about that today a little bit. It opens today, it closes on August 12th. There's some very special astrology happening around it this year, which means that it's not just any ordinary, quote unquote, Lion's Gate. This one is supercharged. So we're going to talk more about that today, and that may be why a lot of you that I've heard from are feeling the intensity. So before we get started, I'd like to welcome anybody who's new to CoreLight, and also welcome to all of our old friends as well. And whether you're listening live or in the future, it doesn't matter. We are all in a field of love together that exists in the eternal present moment anyway, no matter what linear time you're listening in. So for those who are new, every month I tune in on what's happening in the collective consciousness, and I'm always shown a few key themes to talk about on these calls. Today, the main theme is the vast within, the vast without. And there are 7 sub-themes under the main theme. The first one, I'm just going to read them to you here. The first one is the Lion's Gate, a time of death and rebirth. This is well, we'll get into it, but it's really a powerful time, very auspicious. I'm really happy that we're gathering today. The second one, discernment in the age of disclosure. The third one, when the caterpillar liquefies, facing change without fear. The next one, the brightest light, the darkest shadow. The next one, hungry for truth, reclaiming compassion. The next one, between the known and the unknown. And the next one, the last one, the mirror and the medicine. Sacred activism begins within. So again, for anybody who's new, I start by offering a guided meditation, and then we'll speak about the prevailing energies that are affecting us and also about the spiritual principles that are most helpful for us right now. And then we'll have time for questions and answers. And we'll close the session with a brief guided meditation or prayer or whatever we have time for. And if you need to leave before the call ends, you can always listen to the recording later on our free resources page at corelight.org. We do send out the link to our email list, and it's also posted on YouTube later. Before we get started with our guided meditation, there are a few little housekeeping things, updates. So I'm just going to read them to you. The first one is my life partner of 34 years, Leslie Temple Thurston. Her 80th birthday is on August 12th. Auspicious moment, and we're going to be celebrating in a couple of ways. Number one, we're going to be offering our annual Sacred Art sale for the month of August on all of Leslie's sacred art on our online Sacred Art Gallery at corelight.org. There's 25% off all art plus 50% off the new piece. So that's exciting. And again, you can just go to corelight.org and click on the Sacred Art Gallery tab to find that. Also, on Leslie's birthday, which again is Wednesday, August 12th, I invite you to join me in a global rolling meditation for peace in the world. So August 12th is when the Lion's Gate closes, and so it's going to be an especially powerful time for this. All that you need to do is meditate at sunrise and or sunset in your time zone. It doesn't have to be long. You can meditate for as long as you're able, even if it's just a minute or two. You can add some prayers for peace in the world. We're dedicating the meditation to peace in the world. So we will send an email reminder on August 11th. And so I invite you to tune in to that, look for the email, and I look forward to seeing you on the inner planes at that time. The next thing is, oh, yes, I'm super excited about our new course, The Marriage of Spirit, which starts on September 9th. It's an online course, and the material in this course is the cornerstone of the path of transformation that we teach at CoreLight. So that's why I'm especially excited about it and passionate about this work. And if you're interested in learning more about it, my friend and colleague, Helene Wabe, Dr. Helene Wabe, she interviewed me and we dialogued about the course in a free introductory webinar. And the recording just got posted last week. So you can find it if you go to corelight.org, scroll down a bit, and it's there for free if it interests you. I was so happy to do it. It was just a total delight to be with Helene, who's a friend and a colleague. And I thought she asked some really insightful questions. She gave information herself, some very inspiring examples of how this work is so transformative in her life, in my life, and in the many hundreds of, maybe thousands of people that it has affected. A few weeks ago, we announced the next retreat in South Africa. It's called Return to Joy, and it's going to be February 28th through March 13th, 2027. I invite you to check it out online. They are at the Blyde River Canyon, which is the third largest canyon in the world. It's one of the most beautiful and spiritually powerful places in the world, where I've ever been anyway. And I could talk for a long time about it. I'm not going to. If you're interested in joining me on a retreat in South Africa, I'd love to see you there. You can find it on our events page at corelight.org. There's also one for Portuguese speakers for our Brazilian group, and that's April 11th through 24th, 2027. The last thing I want to say, I will be offering in-person events this year. One is at Unity Church of Tustin, California, in Southern California, and that's September 27th. One is at the Unity Church of Tucson, Arizona, October 4th. Both events are called Peace Begins Within, Mind Yoga for a Polarized World. If you're interested in learning more, you can go to corelight.org, click on our events tab, and you will see the events there. So if you're anywhere near those areas, I'd love to see you in person. Please come and meet me. And I'm super excited about it because I get to present my new project, which is Mind Yoga. So without further ado, let us begin our guided meditation for today. I invite you to get comfortable, close your eyes. You can lie down or recline or sit comfortably with a straight spine, straight but not uncomfortable. And let's begin by taking a few long, slow, deep breaths. Breathing in the light and the life force that surrounds you. Breathing out any stress in the body. Breathing in peace and love. And breathing out any tension. Breathing in the present moment. And breathing out any worries about the past or the future. And now I invite you to join me in a relaxation of the muscles, the physical muscles of the body, from head to fingertips and toes. Feel a beautiful, viscous, warm liquid like honey pouring over the top of your head, relaxing all of the muscles that it touches, starting with the scalp. Feeling your scalp relax and feeling this warmth pouring down over the back of your head, relaxing your whole cranium, down the sides, over the ears, down the forehead. Feel it pouring over your eyebrows, over your eyes and your temples, nose, cheeks, mouth, chin. Feeling the entire face and the head completely letting go, completely relaxing, taking a few moments to focus, especially on the eyes, which is a place where we hold on to a lot of tension. But just allow the eyes to completely relax. Feeling the eyelids and all the many, many little muscles surrounding the eyes. Relax. The eyeballs themselves, let them relax so much that they just gently fall back into their sockets. Mhm. Remember your breathing, breathing in the light and breathing out any tension in the body. With each exhale, feel the body relaxing more deeply. And I invite you to feel it continuing to pour over your neck and your shoulders, your torso, upper back, down your arms. Feeling it pour down your arms, relaxing all the muscles all the way down to the hands and the fingers, sweeping you free of any tension. And feeling this warm energy pouring down over your chest and your upper back, down over the abdomen. Let's take a moment to take an extra long, slow, deep breath, filling up the lungs fully, 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 so much that it fills up the diaphragm, stretching the diaphragm just a little bit, and then gently relaxing and letting go, exhaling. Oh, and feel how relaxing that is. And let's do it one more time. Breathing in light to the top of your head, filling up the lungs fully, 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 stretching the diaphragm ever so gently and slightly. And with the exhale, completely relaxing. And let's do one more. Long, slow, deep breath, breathing light in through the top of the head. And exhaling, feeling the tension leaving the body, especially around the diaphragm area, the place where we hold on to a lot of tension. It's the knot between the third and fourth chakras. Helpful to do breath work, help open that up. And now I invite you to continue feeling the energy pouring down over the diaphragm and the lower back and the stomach and all the organs, relaxing everywhere it touches. And now the abdomen, the hips, pelvis, the whole pelvic region, the buttocks, the genitals, psoas muscles, just feeling that whole midsection, letting go. And feeling the energy pouring down over the legs. All the way down to the ankles, feet, and toes, sweeping you free of any tension. And now let's drop our grounding cords from the root chakra, which is at the base of the spine, all the way down into the earth. And by the way, it's okay if you don't know about the chakras. It's completely fine. You don't need to. Just feel the energy center that's at the base of the spine. And sometimes if you gently put your energy there, you can feel the root chakra open up naturally. Just relaxing into that and drop your grounding cord and send it down into the earth. And again, if you're not feeling it, just visualize it. That's totally fine. And send the grounding cord down to the center of the earth and wrap it around the core of the earth, commingling your energy with the energy at the core of the earth. And then feeling how anchoring this is, feeling how your body completely lets go and relaxes when you feel grounded. I invite you to feel the support of the earth beneath you in the form of the floor or the chair. Feel where your body touches the floor or the chair and just be with that. Give full awareness to that connection of your body and the earth. And feel how supported you are by the earth. I invite you to just relax very, very deeply into this support. Take another long, slow, deep breath if you want to. Breathing in light through the top of the head, filling up the lungs and the diaphragm. And then with the exhale, send your energy down into the core of the earth and feel your connection with Mother Earth. Relaxing into Mother Earth's embrace like a little baby, relaxing in the arms of its mother. You are completely safe, completely held, completely supported in this moment. Feel the deep peace and the freedom that comes from that. And now I invite you to remain, while you remain relaxed in this state, draw the earth energy up into the soles of your feet, up the legs, and up the core of your body, which is a luminous tube of golden white light that runs right in front of the spine from root to crown, all the way up to the top of the head. Gently bring the energy, bring your awareness up, all the way up to the top of your head. And now let's send the energy out the top of the head into formless space. And I invite you to connect that energy with a source of universal energy and love, whatever that appears to be for you. It might look like a spiral galaxy, or a star, or a group of angelic beings. But this is your connection to your universal source of energy, pure love, highest vibration. Feel that connection and feel how when you connect with that beautiful source of universal energy in the heavens, feel how your body, your physical body, is suspended beautifully, light as a feather, between heaven and earth. And just allow yourself to hang weightless between heaven and earth, feeling your physical body as light as a feather. become aware that the physical body is the marriage of spirit and matter. It's your spirit infusing that beautiful physical body of yours, which is made of earth. One day, we will slip off these bodies like an overcoat, leaving them behind, and we will remain as pure consciousness, pure awareness, pure soul energy. And meanwhile, what a gift that we get to wear these beautiful physical bodies at this extraordinary time on this amazing planet, schoolroom Earth, the planet of extreme dualities, extreme shadow and extreme light. What a gift. So now, as you hold this beautiful space where your body is as light as a feather, suspended between heaven and earth, I'm going to say a little prayer and an invocation for our call today. We call on Great Spirit, Divine Mother, Father God, the self that we all are. We call on our highest guides and teachers, angels, all the beings who surround us in the highest love and support. And we invite you to wrap us up in a beautiful cocoon of golden white light and love and healing energy, filling us up. Even though we do a lot of talking on these calls, I invite everybody to feel this energy, this transmission of beautiful, beautiful healing energy that's coming through. And just to receive it, even if you're multitasking during the call, to be aware that there is this beautiful field of love that we're all participating in and we can all receive. And it doesn't matter whether you're listening in real time or in the future. As I said, there's only one eternal present moment and we're all in it, no matter what the linear time is. So we're all here together, right here, right now. The field of love. Guide our conversation, please, Spirit, into the highest love and the highest wisdom. And while we're here together, let's take this opportunity to say a special prayer for the earth. We pray for our Mother Earth, for all her inhabitants, the whole of the natural world, including humans. Maybe especially humans, I don't know. But we pray and we send beautiful prayer of love and peace and healing energy out to all who suffer, especially people who are in war-torn areas, Ukraine and Russia, the Middle East. Anywhere where there's war, forgive me for probably not mentioning every place. You can mention silently any place you like right now. Places that are affected by natural disasters or people affected by hunger, ecosystems affected by pollution, human encroachment, illness. Any living being that suffers for any reason. We send love and light and healing energy. I'd like to say a special prayer for the wild horses of North America who've been through an especially challenging time recently. So please feel your love in your heart and just send a little blessing out to the horses and to all the people whose hearts have been broken by the way they've been treated. And may they be surrounded in light and love and healing energy, the horses and the people. And may humans learn compassion. All right, so without further ado, let us begin our topic for today. When I despair, I remember that all through history, the way of truth and love have always won. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time they can seem invincible, but in the end, they always fail. They always fall. Think of it, always. Mahatma Gandhi. I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Martin Luther King, Jr. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Joseph Campbell. Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I am changing myself. Rumi. All right. Well, our first topic for today is about the Lion's Gate, a time of death and rebirth. The Lion's Gate, if you don't know, is a power window and it opens today, July 26th, and it peaks on August 8th, and it closes on August 12th. This year, it happens to be a total solar eclipse on August 12th. So it's an especially powerful Lionsgate, more than normal. And if you're not familiar with Lionsgate, it is one of the most powerful spiritual windows of the entire year. I know shamans around the world who consider this the most powerful time. I know I do. Um, as I mentioned, the astrology is auspicious. I'm not an astrologer, but I did write it down in case you're interested. Jupiter in Leo is amplifying everything. The lunar nodes are shifting mid-window. And the total solar eclipse is closing everything out on August 12th. So I invite you to use this time appropriately and wisely. It's a really, really powerful window. I imagine many of you are already feeling the intensity of it. You know, it doesn't just end quickly or start quickly or end quickly. Uh, so I explained what the Lion's Gate is in last year's Spiritual Weather Report in July and why it's such a powerful time. So I'm not going to repeat that here. And if you'd like to know more about the Lion's Gate, if you're not familiar with it, I invite you to go back into the Spiritual Weather Report archive at corelight.org. It's on our free resources page, and you can look for July of 2025, and you can go, there's a little timestamp list there, and you can go right to the topic if you want to learn about Lion's Gate. So for today, I guess what I would say about it is there are a few particular ways that we can all take advantage of this time. I did make a list, I wrote them down. It's a great time to make new commitments and set new intentions. What do you want to complete and what do you want to let go of? What do you want to create? It's a great time to do a clean out, clearing out, whether that's inner or outer. So letting go of things that no longer serve you. They can be physical things, relationships, whatever it is, but to do an inventory. It's a great time for journaling. So you can do an inventory of your life, a life review, do some visioning. What is it that you really want out of life? What are your short-term goals and long-term goals? This is the perfect time to get clear on that. And then the actual day of August 8th is an excellent time to do a ceremony of some kind. If you're into ceremonies, it's the best time of the year to do one. If you're not into ceremonies, you might give it a try. Could be as simple as lighting a candle, burning a stick of incense, just sitting quietly for a few moments by yourself, maybe in nature, and stating your goals to the universe and stating and making a physical offering of some kind as a symbol of releasing that which you no longer wish to hold on to. So let's see. Oh, lastly, as just a reminder, I invite you to join me in a rolling global meditation on August 12th. It's the day that the Lionsgate closes. It's also Leslie's 80th birthday. And it's going to be especially powerful if you can join us. And all you need to do to participate, as I said before, is meditate at sunrise and or sunset in your time zone. It can be for as long or as short as you like. Say a few little prayers for peace for the world, and I will see you on the inner planes. I'm sure it's going to be an incredibly powerful moment to do this because it's the culmination, it's the end of the whole Lionsgate window. So do mark it on your calendar, August 12th, uh, global meditation with Corelight. We're going to send an email out about it on August 11th. And also, we can celebrate inwardly our beloved Leslie, who has gifted us with so much in this life, so many beautiful teachings she gave us. The next topic is discernment in the age of disclosure. And I wanted to touch briefly on this subject because it's what we talked about in the last weather report in June. Um, because the subject of disclosure is still up for us this month. And in fact, I would imagine it's going to be with us for a very long time, at least for the foreseeable future. If you're tracking it at all, I'm sure you know what I mean. So if you didn't get a chance to hear last month's spiritual weather report and you're interested in the subject of disclosure and extraterrestrials, you might want to check that out. Um, Also, one of the only other times that I spoke about extraterrestrials was in July of 2023. It's interesting that it's coming up in July every time. I don't know why. As I mentioned, that's on our free resources page at corelight.org. The title of it is Extraterrestrials. And I had just had a profound experience and a healing I'm not going to describe it here, but it was an extraterrestrial experience that was a great healing for me. And I shared the story on the call. It's funny because I almost never talk about this stuff, and it just keeps coming up more and more lately. After last month's weather report, I received a lot more comments and questions than usual. So I was really happy to learn that the subject is of interest. And I want to thank all of you who took the time to write to me and share and ask questions and so forth. I really love hearing from you and that on this topic, especially because I think it's all, this is all new for all of us. Even if you've been tracking this for a long time, this is a new time. We're in a new phase. One of the things that feels important to mention about this whole disclosure movement now, and especially after last month, I spoke about the movie Disclosure Day, the Steven Spielberg movie that came out a few weeks ago, um, is some people say that the disclosure that's happening right now is not a good thing. Some people say that we're being set up for a big manipulation. And they say that even though it seems like it's a really good thing, that disclosure is sort of, starting to trickle through some official channels now, that there's a dark agenda behind how it's being presented. And honestly, I really don't want to get into this because it's a complicated story, and I did try to address it in my own way last month. But I guess it's important to just acknowledge that that's out there. And the important thing for all of us is that we're aware of it and to use our discernment. So I feel this is one of the keys to the whole thing is the practice of witnessing and discerning. What feels true? What doesn't? Like I said before, if anything is designed to make you feel fear, there's probably some agenda behind it and it's some form of propaganda. So you want to be aware. And fear is the key. So I invite you to really redouble your efforts with your witnessing practice. Remember to be aware of fear, not to buy into it. Choosing love over fear is always the answer. And as I said, in this power window of the Lion's Gate, this would be one of our highest intentions that we could possibly set is for stronger witnessing, stronger capacity to discern. So I invite you to, add that to your list if that feels right to you. The next topic is when the caterpillar liquefies, facing change without fear. So, as I was saying at the beginning of the call, these are very intense times, and I feel like I could say that every month. I don't know if you feel that, but I sure do. It just feels like Leslie and I have been saying, boy, it's a very intense time since the 80s. I mean, it just seems to amplify, it just seems to increase with every passing month. But this month does feel especially true. It feels true in our personal lives, at least for most people, I think, and it's certainly true in the collective and with world events. So I'd like to talk about both of these things today, what's happening at a personal level as well as a collective level with this intensity that we're all going through. Um, I'll just preface it by saying if at a personal level you're not feeling the intensity, it does not mean that you're missing out or that you're doing something wrong. You just consider yourself blessed and have your respite and enjoy it because the rest of us are really going through the intensity. So it's okay either way. Um, yeah, but for many people, the intensity is very challenging right now. So if that's you, here are some of the things that I'm aware of that might be helpful for us to name together and talk about. And that's always the first step, by the way. I think you probably know that. The first step is always to name whatever the issue is. So the first one, and I think this might be the biggest one, is facing the unknown. Last month, we talked about this a little bit. One of the main themes of the movie, Disclosure Day, was don't be afraid of what you don't know. That's one of the lines in the movie. It's a recurring theme in the movie. Essentially, that's the fear of the unknown. And so I guess it's up more this month. I've heard from a number of people, and I can feel it out there. And so I guess I was just wondering, how are you coping with this? How are you feeling around this? I know fear usually comes up for most people whenever we face the unknown. It's natural. And if it's not outright fear, then at least, some form of mild trepidation or worries might rise up. And remember, worry is like it's a little mini dose of fear. And it's especially important to practice witnessing worry and to not hook into it, but to let it pass through and to leave. So we're going to talk about that a little more today. And if you need extra support with any of this, the Marriage of Spirit online course is going to be focused especially on the practice of witnessing and how to go deeper into that. So I invite you to consider that if this is something you need help with. It's a way I can support you further with this. I know quite a few people who are going through some kind of major change that's pretty intense, or at least some degree of change, let's say. And so um, there's usually some degree of fear or worry there for most people. And I guess I would say for me personally, I'm definitely facing the unknown in a big way at the moment. And when this happens to me, the way I like to look at it is as an artist looks at a blank canvas. I think that's a great metaphor for the unknown, right? And I think there's always at least a little trepidation for just about anybody in that situation. I feel like right now many of us feel like we're turning a corner or maybe starting a whole new chapter in life, or some people feel like they're opening a whole new book in life. It's just, something new beginning, whether it's big or small. And it can feel overwhelming, it can feel scary. So, in case it's helpful, I wanted to share my own example of what I'm talking about. As I mentioned previously, I don't remember when, but I've been working on a new project for a few years, and it's called Mind Yoga. And it's based on summarizing the four main practices that Leslie and I teach that we put in our book, The Marriage of Spirit. And we're going to touch on some of those practices today. And if they're of interest to you, as I mentioned, there's the course coming up. So we'll go into them in much more depth there. But today I thought to give a little taste of them. So I'm excited about Mind Yoga, and we do plan to launch it closer to the end of this year. But there's this significant piece that is not complete, which is both exciting and inspiring, as well as a huge unknown for me. And so it requires making decisions that are going to shape the future in some significant ways. And so what helps me most is this metaphor that I described to you. It's like the artist looking at a blank canvas. Um, because when we look at it that way, it becomes an opportunity to explore, to vision, to have fun creating something original instead of the other option would be feeling afraid, right? Afraid of the unknown or feeling overwhelmed maybe. A lot of it is about trust and faith and knowing deep in your heart that it's all going to work out, that it's going to be perfect in its way. And so these situations of the unknown are always an opportunity to foster curiosity, to foster playfulness, to enjoy the process of creating something new. I know lots of other people in a similar position to me who are starting new chapters in their lives and wondering what the future holds. And as I said, um, lots of people going through at least some degree of change in their life, even if it's small. And any kind of change can be scary and overwhelming. So I thought that we might take some time today to talk about this, to talk about change and facing the unknown. So first of all, we have to remember that change is what life on Earth is all about. Schoolroom Earth is all about change upon change upon change. And it's why we came here. We forget that. We forget that we come for the experience of change. And so you could say that the only constant in life on planet Earth is change. And yet the irony is that the ego resists change. In fact, the ego is synonymous with control. It's designed to try to stay the same at all costs because it believes that its survival depends on maintaining the status quo. So, because the ego knows how to survive what it's already experienced, it wants everything to stay the same. So, it does not appreciate change normally. That is not its default by any means. And in fact, uh, the ego fears its death. To the ego, change means death normally. The ego strives to control and to know and to keep things the same. It avoids the unknown and the formlessness at all costs and change. So here we are facing, this situation, conundrum of how do we cope with change and how do we face the unknown while we're living on planet Earth, which is all about change. Um, I think the most important thing and the very first thing is to remember that the ego doesn't die. There's no such thing as death. It simply transforms into something new and improved. And it's like the caterpillar that more metamorphoses into the butterfly. It becomes the caterpillar. I don't know if you're aware of the life cycle, but the caterpillar actually becomes liquid inside the cocoon before it transforms into the butterfly. So I mean, we can imagine it's very natural for an ego to feel fear of that journey of transformation. It can feel literally like we're turning into a puddle, you know. Literally, we have to face our death. But I think it's like I said, it's super important to remember that it's more like a graduation than a death. It's just the ego dying to its old self. And then it's reborn into something new and improved, like a new version of itself, ego 2.0. So I I think that what we're talking about here is really at the heart of everybody's spiritual journey. Um, and so it's critical that we keep reminding ourselves of that spiritual truth whenever we become aware that we're fearing change or we're fearing the unknown. And so I guess I would ask you, my question to you is, how are you handling this experience? How are you coping with facing change and the unknown, whether it's big or small? How's your witnessing practice going? And I'm pausing because I'm seriously asking you the question. Please answer, even if it's inside your head. How's your witnessing practice going around facing the unknown and facing the changes in your life? How well are you able to maintain your objective observer when you face the unknown? So again, I'm going to be offering more support with this in the Marriage of Spirit online course. If that's something that you feel like you need, I'm happy to be there for you. Um, but for now, I think let's just move on to the next topic for the sake of time. Okay, so the next topic, the brightest light, the darkest shadow. The dualities are more extreme than ever, and the polarization just seems to keep increasing, as I said. I assume many of you, if not most of you, are feeling that. Yeah, are you? I'm imagining you are. It's a metaphysical truth that where the light is the brightest, the shadow is the darkest. And I feel like we really need to remember that right now because it feels to me like we've reached a new low in terms of war and the horrors that are happening on the planet. We're in an especially dark time. The law of the jungle seems to be prevailing. The law of the jungle is where might makes right. And I would say the ugliness and the brutality are just off the charts. Um, the level of barbarism, what words can I use? Depravity, carnage, it's truly remarkable. And so there are plenty of reasons to be feeling upset, to be feeling anger, to be feeling grief and sadness. If you're empathic at all, I know that you know what I mean. And I would imagine that's most of you listening. And yet, like I said, it's very, very important that we remember where the shadow is the darkest, the light is the brightest. So at the same time, there's so much beauty around us and so many opportunities to feel the joy and the compassion, the hope, the inspiration. And as soon as we're within access that, everything changes. This beautiful, amazing planet that we get to live on in these physical bodies for a few years is so extraordinary. You know, we get to experience these dualities, all of these pairs of opposites. It's it's unbelievable, really. It's like it's hard to wrap the mind around this experience that we're having of such extremes. And it's sometimes very challenging to navigate those extremes, as we all know. So one simple but very effective little trick is just pausing for a moment during the day to appreciate the little miracles of the world. It's such a great way. It's so simple to do if we just remember to do it. My personal example of that is I've been here in Florida for a few weeks now. It's one of my happy places, as I said, and on my daily walks, I have found myself stopping frequently to marvel at the joy of the beauty of the natural world here. Especially, I've been paying attention to this little family of burrowing owls. They're an endangered species, and there's this little sign that says endangered species, burrowing owl, and it's got a picture of the owl. And the mommy owl sits on top of the sign. So you see this little sweet little owl. And I met the daddy and the mommy, and every day for a week or two, I would greet them and talk to them. And then I kept picking up that there were babies somehow involved here. And sure enough, one day I saw an owlet, a little tiny fuzzy little owlet, just the sweetest little thing who came out of the little burrow and looked at me, and we connected. And over the weeks, I've watched, and now there are four little owlets. And it's just sort of this minor miracle, but I don't know, I just marvel at it. And um, it's such a simple joy when we connect with nature in that way. And I hope I share this story because I hope you also do that, or that you remember to do that. I know anybody who has a pet, you're doing that all day long. But whether it's enjoying the natural world or some other form of simple little joy, I wonder how you're doing with that. Are you remembering? Are you taking the time to bring that joy into your life, to pause and have that? And I would also say the other important thing is to remember our gratitude, cultivating gratitude for whatever is happening in our lives, even if it's painful and challenging, whatever it is. We ask, what is the gift? What is the opportunity in this situation? And as soon as we discover these things, um, we stop feeling victimized by the situation, no matter how dark it might be. And I know that that's easier said than done, but it does work. And so that's been my practice for a long, long time, for decades actually. And I've come through some very, very challenging times using that. Because otherwise, we feel like life's being done to us, not for us. And that's not the truth. Life's being done for us always, not to us. Um, so I thought today it might be worthwhile to take a look at some of the pairs of opposites that we're working with. As you know, if you've been around Corelight for any length of time, we work with opposites, and there's so much power in simply naming the opposite of whatever it is you're experiencing. So if you're new, I invite you to just give this a try with us right now. And whether you're new or not, I invite you to pause for a moment and feel. You know, these exercises are so much about feeling. They're so much more powerful when we feel them. We don't just think about them and make it a purely mental exercise. So I made a little list. I wrote down a few words, which I'm going to read to you. And I would invite you, I'm going to pause before I say the opposite, and I would invite you to name your own opposite before I name mine. And please remember, there's no right and wrong here. It's a game. You can, it's whatever feels right to you. No right or wrong answers. Usually, if you're sensitive, you can feel the exact right vibration in your body. So that's why I say practice feeling. And you'll feel when you've found the best opposite for you, because it's like a vibrational match. And you sometimes feel the shift in your body. So I feel like that's the greatest power of this. You feel the shift in your body. And it's different from person to person. So again, uh, I will probably have different words than you have. Okay, here we go. These are the words that I may have mentioned today. Um, intensity. What is the opposite of intensity? I used easefulness. If you got something different, great. Use it. Use whatever you feel is the best vibrational match for you. I would invite you to, if you have the wherewithal, to make your own list, to write these words down. And you don't have to, though. If you're in a place where you can't or whatever, you're multitasking, don't worry about it. We're gonna, we'll speak them. I just find it's more powerful to write them. The next word is unknown. What's the opposite of unknown? Known is what I get. Change, opposite of change. Status quo, staying the same, is what I got. Control. What's the opposite of control? You can go a few ways with this one. Uh, chaos is one. Chaos and control are opposites, or out of control. Polarized. How about unified? Bright light. What is the opposite of bright light? I put dark shadows. I have to confess, that reminded me. I'm dating myself now, but that reminded me of a TV soap opera that was on in the 1960s and 70s that I watched as a child. Dark Shadows. I even went to YouTube and I thought, I wonder if any of that stuff's there. And sure enough, there was Barnabas Collins, the vampire. War is the next word. What's the opposite of war? I put peace. Horror. And remember to feel. Feel in your body as I say these words. Feel horror. What is the opposite of horror for you? This one might be a little more challenging. I use the word sanctity. Brutality is the next word. Opposite of brutality for you. I put tenderness. Ugliness. What is the opposite of ugliness? I put beauty. Barbarism. What's the opposite of barbarism? I put civility. Depravity. What is the opposite of depravity for you? I put virtue. Carnage. What is the opposite of carnage? I put reverence for life. Again, no right and wrong. You put what works for you, but feel the vibration in your body. Feel if it works. Feel if you see if you can feel that energetic match vibrationally. That's where you get the breakthroughs, where you get that match as a vibration or a frequency. The next word is grief. I put joy. Many different opposites to grief. The next one, there are only a couple more. Bear with me, please. Next one is law of the jungle. It's the opposite of law of the jungle for you. I put the rule of law. And the last one, might makes right. What is the opposite of might makes right for you? So this was a really interesting one for me. I came up with right makes might. And I want to explain that. When I say right, I mean that alignment with truth. Um, that alignment with truth or rightness is more powerful than physical force. So I just reversed it. Instead of might makes right, I put right makes might. Right, being in alignment with truth, is the most powerful thing. So the next step, let's do a quick triangle. If you've never practiced these little marriage of spirit practices based on the book that Leslie and I wrote by the same name, the next practice is called a triangle. And what you do is you take the opposites and you try to you find a word that sits at the apex of the triangle that balances and ascends the polarity, that brings it right into the heart or the higher consciousness, let's say. You can call it the heart word if you like. Um, let's do it for the law of the jungle, the rule of law, or might makes right and right makes might. Those are powerful opposites. So what's the triangle? What do you get? What word or phrase do you get? And usually there's more than one. So if you have more than one, that's fine. But what do you get for the apex of the triangle, the ascended balance word of might makes right versus right makes might? What I put is love and truth are the most powerful forces in the universe. That really, when I thought of that, I thought, that's it. I got a big aha. I felt it in my body. I felt this clunk, like, yes, love and truth, the most powerful forces in the universe. It ascends and balances all these polarities that we're naming. And that segues into the next theme for today. The next theme is hungry for truth, reclaiming compassion. And by the way, we are going to make an offering of these lists and the triangle at the end of the call. I should have said that before. Sorry. The last step of these practices to make a prayer and an offering and to let it all go. Where all we're doing is naming the imbalances, and we're going to let all the imbalances go. So there's a feeling in the collective of being fed up with all the horror and the propaganda and being lied to. There is such a hunger for truth. Do you feel that? Are you feeling what I'm feeling? I think we all want the truth. We're all tired. We know what we've been being lied to for so long is uh, such a desire for the truth. I think we're all just sick and tired of it, and it's becoming so much easier to see through all of this propaganda and the disinformation and the nonsense that we're being fed. It's become clearer than ever to almost everybody I know, and I feel this in the collective that we're being manipulated. I just finished reading, or at least finished listening to, it was an audiobook of The Hero's Journey, which is about Joseph Campbell. And there was a line in it that stopped me cold in my tracks. The line was, I'm reading it here, the main point of propaganda is is to suppress compassion. The main point of propaganda is to suppress compassion. I mean, is that not amazing? I literally had to just stop it, rewind it, and play it again. I was walking and I stopped my walk to that again. Propaganda is about suppressing compassion, polarizing us. It's about getting us to uh, to think that another group is bad or wrong or stupid or foolish or whatever. It's to make us angry at them. At worst, it's to make us hate them. But whatever it is, it leads to us sort of dehumanizing another group, to making them less than human, worse than we are at least. And that's separation. That is separation right there. So at the very least, propaganda is about a lack of compassion for others. So I felt like that was a big moment for me too. I had somehow never heard it quite in that way. Um, so I hope that's helpful to you to hear that. Let's just do a few more little opposites on that, okay? I wrote a few words down. Fed up with horror and propaganda. What's the opposite of that? Fed up with horror and propaganda. I put hungry for love and truth. Manipulation. What's the opposite? I wrote down straightforwardness. What is the opposite of sick and tired of the status quo? I wrote eager and willing for change. So I feel like that brings us full circle in a way. We started the call today by talking about the ego's resistance to change, and now we're talking about being eager and willing to change. So this is, I think, a good place to close out on the topic. Um, and so, like I said, we're going to offer the whole list up at the end. But I thought let's move on to the next topic because it's going to we're going this is going to feed into what we do at the end. So the next topic is between the known and the unknown. I realize what we've been talking about today has been kind of dancing around a square, circling around a square. No pun intended. But it feels important to name that, the known and the unknown, because we talked at the beginning of the call about the unknown being one of our themes. So I thought we would take just a few minutes to do a quick square on the known versus the unknown. And this will be very quick. Usually it takes quite a while. You can do a square for longer, but I thought it important just to name it and do a quick one. So I'm going to invite you to do a speed square with me. A square is one, if you're new, square is one of the practices in the Marriage of Spirit book. Um, Again, if you like this, I'll be offering the course. We can go into it more deeply. What you do is you take a polarity and you break it out into its desires and fears, the desire and fear of one side and the desire and fear of the other side. Um, and it's an extraordinarily powerful practice because you're making unconscious conscious. And the easiest way is just to dive in and do one. So that's what we'll do. The first corner would be the desire for the known. And I'm going to read you what I wrote. This corner is about the ego wanting control, status quo, and form. So it's sort of like we talked about earlier, the brain or the ego, they are wired for survival, and they know that they can survive what they've already been through. So they're desperate to hold on to what is the known. There's going to be a lot more in that corner, but again, for sake of time, I'd like to just move on. You can, for home practice, if you like, you can fill out that corner a bit more. So the next corner is the fear of the known. Now, desire and fear are opposites, right? Desire is the attraction energy we're pulling towards us. Fear is the repulsion energy we're pushing away from us. So if fear of the known doesn't work, you can use the word repulsion, right? Repulsion, like the aversion or the repulsion to pushing away of the known. And we just talked about it, interestingly. We talked about being fed up with the status quo of our known reality, of our existing reality, right? Which is the propaganda, the lies, the manipulation, the law of the jungle, and so forth. So, isn't that interesting that we're finding a corner that would normally be unconscious? We're becoming very conscious that we are sick and tired. We're repulsing this known. It's feeling stuck and feeling limited by the status quo. So the next corner, again, moving on for sake of time, if you are interested in this, you can write more in your journal for home practice. But for sake of time, we're moving on. Desire for the unknown. I wrote down the desire to change, ready to embrace a new reality, trusting that the new reality will be a new and improved one, like a higher octave of our current experience. It's the artist's enjoyment of facing a blank canvas and creating something original and new, having fun, feeling joy, and embracing the new. Okay? That's the desire for the unknown. And again, there's probably a lot more there. I invite you to do it for home practice if you like, but we're going to move on for sake of time. The last corner is the fear of the unknown. And again, this is like what we've been discussing today, the artist's fear of facing a blank canvas. So isn't that interesting? We're looking at, we have both the desire and the fear of the same thing. And that's when you recognize that, you've made the unconscious conscious. And that's the whole game. The ego is held in place by the unconscious. So once you make the unconscious conscious, the game is up and the ego dies to its old self, and we can live in the higher octave. So I wrote down in this corner, the ego fears its death, change, and facing the unknown mean death to the ego. So there would be a part of us that would resist the unknown for that reason. And so for the sake of time, we're going to stop there. Again, at the end of the call today, we will make the offering and we'll release everything. The next topic is the mirror and the medicine. Sacred activism begins within. So lastly, I wanted to touch briefly on the subject of what I'm aware of out there is a sense of feeling helpless and powerless. I think this comes about in the face of overwhelming world circumstances, it's so easy to feel this way. It's so easy to feel like, well, I'm just one little person. I mean, I'm just an individual. What effect could I possibly have on such an enormous global problem? I've heard this from so many people lately, and I feel it out there. I see it on the podcasts. I hear it on the podcasts, and it's definitely up right now. So if you might be feeling that way, I invite you to remember that the greatest gift that we can give the world is our own spiritual awakening. It's so important to remember that the outer world is just a mirror of our own unconscious self. So I'm going to say that again. The outer world is a mirror of our own unconscious self. And so if we want to change the world, we need to change what's inside so that the outer mirror will reflect something different back to us. And I think that's why self-inquiry work is becoming so much more popular. People are realizing this. We realize that, well, what can I do if I'm feeling powerless and helpless? Well, I can become that person uh, that I wish other people would be. So it's an incredibly empowering approach. Otherwise, if we don't take that approach, it would mean that we would feel a sense of victimization, you know? Um, like I said before, we would feel as though life were being done to us, not for us. And that is not true. Life is always being done for us. So the ultimate truth is that the outer world is only going to reflect back to us what is inside. It's all an inside job. And it's funny, I find myself saying that over and over and over these days. It's all an inside job, to put it simply. And I feel like it's an act of sacred activism to look in the mirror, to practice self-inquiry. It's one of the most courageous things a person can do in this life is to look at ourselves in the mirror, to just be honest, to be transparent and real with ourselves. So if we're feeling a sense of helplessness and powerlessness and victimization and all of those states that are actually at the bottom of what we call the downward spiral. And again, we'll be talking about upward and downward spiral in the Marriage of Spirit course, but it's really important to take a look at that, to do some inner work on these feelings. All of these examples that I've been giving today, how to do a polarity list, how to do the triangle, how to do the square. This is a perfect way to process these feelings of helplessness, powerlessness, victimization, and so forth. We're not going to do any more today. We've done a lot, but you can do that for home practice. Uh, if you're new to this, those would be good things to work on. Like I said, the very first thing is naming the issue, which we've done. And the next step is what? You name the opposite. So I'll let you do that for home practice if you feel moved to. Um, and this is how we clear our egoic patterning and we start to live more from the heart, more from a place of peace and balance and ultimately joy in our lives. So, like I said, it's a radical act of sacred activism to look in the mirror, to do our inner work more from the heart. And that's how we're going to change the world. Okay. Makes sense. One polarity at a time. I just heard those words. We're changing the world one polarity at a time. Maybe we'll make that a Corelight bumper sticker or a t-shirt. Um, yeah. And, selfishly, it's so much more fun to live in joy and to live in that state of peace and having a drama-free life than the alternative. I mean, there's really no choice in the matter. So I'm sure most of you listening are aware of this, and this is just a reminder. But I guess that's my job today is to help us with the reminders. Okay, I'm going to close. Um, what do I want to say to close? So I don't know about you, but I love to look up at the stars. Ever since I was a child, I've always loved looking up at the stars and wondering what's out there. It's so beautiful to do that. The starry sky, so beautiful. And it's part of our nature to wonder and to marvel at the vastness of space. And so now disclosure is happening and the outer frontiers opening up. And so I guess I'm here to remind everybody that there's another frontier, and it's just as vast and just as unknown, and it's right here. It's right inside us. We're exploring outer space and exploring inner space. Those are not two different journeys. It's the same curiosity, um, same courage, same willingness to face the unknown. And here's the thing, we can't control what's happening out there, but we can absolutely turn inward and we can get to know uh, this territory of our own soul. That's a frontier that's always available to us. There's no permission needed. There's no waiting for disclosure. This is our empowerment. There is a vast storehouse of treasure that is waiting for us in the subconscious if we're ready to look for it. And so I invite you to consider that. And during this window of 8/8, the Lion's Gate, it's a very powerful time to set intentions, as I said. So you might want to consider this to recommit to your path of self-inquiry if you're already on one. And if you're not on one, to commit to starting one. It's the most empowering thing we can do. It's the greatest gift we can give the world. It's turning inward. Doesn't mean we don't get off the meditation cushion and go out and put our love into action. That's critical as well. But I think this is the piece that's been missing for a long time. The more people doing this inner work and making the unconscious conscious. And that's how we change the world one polarity at a time. On that note, I'm going to close for today. Thank you. And we're going to go to our question and answer time. So first of all, I would like to thank everybody once again for all the questions and the heartfelt sharing that you send to me. I really love hearing from you. I appreciate hearing from you. In case you're new, the way that works is you can email your questions in advance to courses@corelight.org. It's not possible for me to answer all the questions, but I do read them all and I get to as many of them as I can. And even if I don't answer your question, it will get answered in some way, whether it's through a dream or an insight in meditation or another teacher or a book or somebody else will give it to you. The first question is from Ruth. Apropos Dr. Stephen Greer's civilization scale, are there other level zero civilizations in the universe besides planet Earth? I love that question. I thought that was such an interesting question. So thank you, Ruth, for your excellent question. For those who are not aware of what this means, a little background is in order. Um, if you don't know Dr. Stephen Greer, he is considered the grandfather of the disclosure movement. And if you're not familiar with his work, I do recommend watching his movies, reading his books. His website is drstephengreer.com. That's DR, not the word doctor, but the abbreviation DR Stephen with a V, Steven, Greer, Greer.com. He developed a scale of the evolution of consciousness of a civilization, and it goes from zero all the way up to a high number. I can't remember what it is. I think I've heard 30, maybe even higher. But what I did for today, just to give everybody this background, was I wrote out a little summary of what some of the levels are, so you understand what Ruth is asking about a level zero, because I think it's really worthwhile, this scale that he developed. I think you might find it inspiring to know about if you don't already. I know I always find it inspiring to revisit it. So I'm just going to read to you. Level zero, where we are on planet Earth. A civilization with advanced technology that hasn't integrated it with wisdom or peace, possesses weapons capable of ending all life, extractive energy systems, economic structures that function as industrial slavery, still embraces war as a means of resolving conflict. No comment. Level one, planetary peace, sustained through genuine transformation, not force. Poverty and pollution dissolve. Abundance-based economics. The working week collapses because people aren't grinding for survival. Level two, permanent peace. Not just peaceful now, but structurally incapable of reverting to war. Transdimensional technologies emerge. Anti-gravity replaces combustion. People have time and inner space to pursue higher consciousness as a way of life. Mm, doesn't that sound beautiful? Level three, stable, peaceful, no longer weaponizing space. Consciousness science is mainstream. Open contact with other interstellar civilizations begins, not as a single event, but as an unfolding relationship. Quote unquote, clearance for takeoff. And then here's a summary of levels 4 through 10. Increasing unification of consciousness, technology, and cosmological presence, culminating in level 10, where every being embodies universal awareness. It's basically a planet where everyone's enlightened. Let's go there. Let's take a vacation and go to that planet. So, what I know to be true is that Dr. Greer has said that every interstellar civilization has passed through a level zero. So, Earth being at a level zero is not unique. It's not a failing just for us humans. It's a developmental stage. It's not whether you hit a level zero. It's about crossing that threshold. Consciously moving forward into a new paradigm or collapsing, basically, collapsing beneath the weight of your own uh, technology and ignorance. Um, I'm reading my notes here, sorry. He has also referenced what he calls planetary quarantine. Civilizations at our stage are observed and monitored and to some degree contained. We are not allowed, quote unquote, out there in any significant way because we're considered uncivilized. In other words, the ETs are waiting for us to get this right. Okay, so let's go back to your question, Ruth. The question was, are there other level zero civilizations besides Earth out there? And I think the answer has got to be yes, by logic. If we know that there are advanced civilizations, then we know they've been through level zero, and there must almost certainly be other civilizations out there that are going through this trajectory that every civilization goes through. So there must be level zeros out there, one would suppose. And I would think there have been countless more throughout the history of the cosmos. So we're not special in our dysfunction. We're we're just at a particularly dangerous inflection point, I think. We've got thermonuclear weapons, we've got a collapsing biosphere, we've got suppressed free energy technologies. The list goes on. We've got all these things all at the same time. And I think that combination makes this level zero moment especially precarious for humanity. Um, but I think the good news is that just because we're at a level zero, it's not a condemnation. Um, I think we should look at it more like a diagnosis. Um, just because we're a planet of beer and guns and football, like I say sometimes, it doesn't mean that we're bad and wrong. We're just developing and learning. Um, every civilization that is now at those higher levels, they started exactly where we are. So this path has been walked before. And I always feel comfort from that. I feel like there's comfort in knowing that we're not alone in that way. So anyway, I think for sake of time, let's complete. I hope that helps. Ruth, thank you very much for that great question. I wasn't sure what I was going to say, but it does feel like these are all very inspiring things that we can all benefit from. So thank you. The question is from Linda. In the Marriage of Spirit introductory webinar, you mentioned that processing can also be used to heal the body. Could you please say more about that? Absolutely. So when Linda says processing, what she means is these practices that I've been sharing with you today: witnessing, polarities, triangles, squares. Those are the main four practices, and they can absolutely be used to heal the physical body. In fact, Leslie, when the squares technique was given to her by her inner spiritual guides, she was suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome. She had already gone through her enlightenment experience, but she developed chronic fatigue. I guess the physical body had been weakened for various reasons. It's been my discovery that when a person goes through their enlightenment, it can be challenging to maintain a physical body as well as hold on to the enlightenment. One has to focus especially on the care of the physical body to live, and it's not always the priority for enlightened teachers. Yeah, so anyway, this was back in the day. She had her enlightenment experience in the late 80s, and the squares were given to her, I think, in 1991, if I'm not mistaken. I remember I was there when it happened. And what she did was she went away to be with uh, a group of friends out in the countryside, some students and friends, and she was determined to heal the body. She basically said, "What good is my enlightenment? Like, why am I given this enlightenment if my body's sick? That's not okay with me. I'm not getting off my bed until you help me with this spirit." And so she kind of, yelled at her spiritual guides a bit, and that's when they gave her the squares. And so she said she filled an entire notebook full of squares. She did about, I don't know, dozens of squares sitting on that bed all weekend. She only got up to eat and use the bathroom. She did square, and I wrote down some of the things. She did squares on like health and sickness. So it would be desire for health, fear of health, desire for sickness, fear of sickness. You can, like, this is how a square works, right? So other polarities she worked squares with were life and death, having energy versus feeling drained, and on and on. Um, there's the list is somewhere. I can't remember where it is, but she actually wrote out the list for us at some point. I think it was in one of the courses. So anyway, if that, I know many people are suffering from physical ailments, physical disabilities, and so on. And I would invite you to give the squares a try. They really do work. I've done it myself. Uh, Squares, when the inner guides gave Leslie the squares, they said that's one of the things it especially helps with is the physical world. money, job, relationship, body, that kind of thing. Squares come right down into the embodiment of spirit in the physical reality. So, Linda, I hope that's helpful. Please, if there's more you want, let me know. But I kind of feel like we should close there, and I feel like we should close for the day now. So I want to thank you all. Thank you so much for this time, for coming to be in this field of love with me today, whether you're listening now or in the future. And why don't we close with our ending prayer and meditation? And we're going to do the offering now of all the polarities and etc. that we, polarities, triangle and square that we did today. So I invite you to pause if you're multitasking, just to sit or lie down quietly and close your eyes. Take a few long, slow, deep breaths. Great Spirit, we're making an offering now of all the imbalances that we've named today, the list of polarities, which included change and status quo, the brightest light and the darkest shadow, the law of the jungle versus the rule of law, might makes right versus right makes might. And we also offer up the square that we did, the square of the known and the unknown. So we're giving all these imbalances back. We have made the unconscious conscious, and now we're letting it all go. We've done all the work that we can possibly do by making the unconscious conscious, and now we can surrender it and knowing that the work will be done for us. And as for the triangle, we're calling in the ascended balance states of love and truth, knowing that they are the most powerful forces in the universe. So we invite those into our personal life and into the collective. May love and truth prevail always. And I invite you now to call in any other heart states, ascended balance states that you might have named. Things like compassion, gratitude, joy, forgiveness. We invite into our lives all these states of higher awareness. May we embody them fully and completely. May we go out into the world in peace, and may all of our thoughts, words, and deeds reflect the highest vibration. I'm going to say CORELIGHT'S prayer for peace now to close. From the place of connectedness in us all, our hearts unite for peace in the world. May my thoughts, words, and deeds, and the hearts of all people be moved by compassion and forgiveness, directed by love for humanity and the earth. May leaders find solutions that benefit everyone equally. We call in blessings and protection and courage for all working for universal peace, especially for whistleblowers, for people in government, and all those in positions of power. We call on the power of grace, and we give thanks, knowing that this is so. And as we said at the beginning, we're sending special prayers and blessings out for all who are affected by terrorism, war, genocide. And I invite you now to name any place you want to put in our circle. Peace, shalom, salam. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Allah, isn't it wonderful? When you're ready, bring your awareness back into the room and into your body. Slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and toes. And when you feel ready, open your eyes. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so grateful to have this time with you. I send you my love. And like I said, I'm going to be a nomad here in the United States for a little bit, but I look forward to hopefully seeing some of you somewhere out there. And I wish you happy witnessing and happy staying on your surfboards in these intense times and enjoy the Lion's Gate, the power of this moment that we're in. Thank you. Bye for now. Much love to you.